kind of fun to come across these readings in the midst of the hectic December month, isn't it? We're trying to do all sorts of things, and here Jesus is saying, come to me and you can rest. We're like, please. But I think it is important. I think it is extremely important that we understand that in God we have this source of strength. In the first reading, Isaiah, I love the first line there. Who is my equal? And I think it's been a fault in some of the argumentation that people have used in the context of arguing against faith and against religion, saying, well, if your God is so great, then all of them, how come he can't stand up to these things, or blah, 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 and all of this. And it's not so much that God is like, he's ready to get into the ring with Ali or something, like he's going toe-to-toe with these forces. We understand that God is the source of all being. God is the fount from which all existence flows. And so there's nothing that happens that God is not aware or it is not within God's purview. We don't always understand why things happen the way that they do. But we know that God is always going to be present and pouring his life and his love into our reality. That's where our strength comes from. I was reading an article some months ago about the effects of the drought, especially in the central part of the state, where a lot of places have had to tap into deep ground wells and use water because they were just so in need. And they've tapped into ground wells that are so deep, they're using water that has been there for thousands of years. And because they've used it, now the towns are sinking. And so they've experienced the town kind of sinking. That's what happens when we disconnect ourselves from God. We use every last ounce of strength and we'll just start to sink and cave in. And so in Advent we are reminded to continuously draw close to the source of strength. In those words of Jesus, come to me all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. And Juan Diego, trying to be really good about his own obligations and duties, was trying to go about his way. And here God just kind of broke into his life by sending the Blessed Mother and saying, I need you to do these things. And he's like, oh my gosh, why are you doing this? And yet, gently, like a mother's love, called Juan Diego to trust in the source of life, to trust in God and what God was doing. And look at the amazing effect that visitation has had on the world. So what kind of effect would it have on our world and our own lives to be able to receive God into our hearts, as Juan Diego did, to be able to rely every day on that source of strength in life?